The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that rim. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple of thoughts.
15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to hour number 3, our third and final, live right here on this Sunday night on SportsGrid. It is the Bracket Central Selection Show. One more hour to go to continue to make sense of the madness for you. He is the coach. You'll get all of his scouting reports. That's James Young, JY. I am Ben Stevens. We go region by region, each portion of the bracket. We highlight the upsets, the Cinderella run, possibilities, and, of course, the cream that rises to the top at the end of the tournament, who will see the Final Four in San Antonio less than 3 weeks away from this Sunday night. 22 days from now, the end of a tournament defined by madness and a national champion crowned in men's college basketball. So, JY, we've hit the South region, where the number 1 overall seed in Auburn resides. We've hit the East region, where the national championship favorites are. That's the Duke Blue Devils, the top team out in that portion of the bracket. Midwest as well, the champions of the Big 12. That would be Houston. Now time to the West region, where when you look at the one line, maybe the team that is the most dominant or does not want to be played right now outside of Duke really could be Florida after they made some hay in dominant fashion this week in the gauntlet that was the SEC tournament in Nashville, winning that tournament crown. Florida is the top team in the West region. Florida gets Norfolk State, the champions, out of the MEAC in the opening round of 64. But outside of that opening round game, JY, it's the rest of that bracket. Top half, who's that team that's now on the 8 line? That would be your 2-time reigning NCAA tournament national champs in the Connecticut Husky. Dan Hurley and his Huskies hunting down a 3rd consecutive title. They'll be the 8th seed, JY, in this West region.
Yeah, and it's a team that in UConn it's really been up and down.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. You know, everybody was all on the UConn train until they hit Maui and came back with 3 losses. And they've been up and down, but they've shown an ability with Dan Hurley to dial it up when it gets to this time of year. Interesting matchup in an 8-9 game. And listen, UConn could honestly, I'm going to be honest with you, the way that this draw is lined up, they could either get knocked out in the first round or they can make a deep run. They have the pedigree, they have the coach, they have the moxie and the toughness. It's honestly comes down to the consistency, particularly McNeely, Caravan. Yeah. Can they bring it game after game after game. If they do, they make a run. If not, they're home after round one.
I'm not overly impressed by the Sooners. They have one of the best freshmen in the country in Jeremiah Fears. They got off to a great start. They were one of the Final Four unbeaten Division I programs around the sport, but really took their lumps early in SEC play. Connecticut, a 4.5-point favorite for that opening round matchup. A Friday night thriller tipping around 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Of course, UConn had much higher expectations entering this year. The two-time reigning champs in the hunt for a third consecutive title. We have not seen a three-peat national champ in men's college hoops since the John Wooden days in Westwood back in the early 1970s when the Bruins won 7 consecutive national titles. But keep an eye on Connecticut. Not a great draw for Florida if Connecticut is as dominant as they have been the last few years in the month of March and in the big dance. JY, when you look around the rest of the West region, let's make our way to the bottom portion of that bracket. In a team that will come with a lot of star power from Queens in the Big Apple. That's Rick Pitino and the Red Storm. St. John's is on the 2 line in this West region. Some questions about the offense, perhaps, but no questions about the pedigree for the Johnnies. First outright Big East regular season crown since 1985. First Big East tournament title capped off with a victory in Madison Square Garden just about 24 hours ago since the year 2000, which is the last year St. John's won a game in the Big Dance. How do you break down this St. John's team as they get ready to enter the fold here in the month of March?
If Houston does a better job of playing you at their pace, St. John's may be second. And what Pitino does is it's not the old school Kentucky run and press to get you up and down. It's really to milk the clock and get you to where, as a coach, if you can get a team to start their first action at about 17 seconds, it's mainly defending 1 to 2 actions, and then you're good.
Yeah.
So St. John's with that full court pressure, more to slow you down and then get into the half court, but they are dynamic in regards to defensively. What is their Achilles heel? It's 30.4. What is that? That's their three-point shooting percentage. I keep seeing this, I keep hearing this in our head from a friend of the program, John Fanta. Only 2 teams have shot under 33% from 3 and made a Final Four.
Yeah.
Both of them, Rick Pitino, Louisville team. So he's going to have to play this style, but they are dynamic. But I'll tell you right now, I'm already getting excited. If they get past Omaha, that round 2 matchup, either Pitino versus Self or Pitino versus Calipari, you want to talk about theater. Absolute cinema.
That is the 7-10 matchup in the West region. The preseason number 1 team in the country, who again struggled this year throughout their regular season campaign and in the Big 12, that would be the Kansas Jayhawks. But a lot of talent, if it can be figured out, now in the Big Dance to maybe make that run. And the 10th seed is Arkansas. Of course, John Calipari teams are always going to have talent, and they get back a very talented young point guard in Boogie Fland, expected to return for the tourney. We will see how that opening round of 64 matchup does play out. Oftentimes, JY, it is about balance, as we shared. You want to be top 25 offense, top 25 defense, trying to find your disparities there. St. John's does have a big distinction, 64th in offense, but the best defensive team by the adjusted efficiency metrics from KenPom entering the NCAA tournament. And Rick Pitino making more history officially on this Sunday night. The first ever D1 head coach in men's college basketball to lead 6 different programs to the NCAA tournament, and he is still the only Division I men's basketball head coach to lead 2 different schools to a national championship. That would be Louisville and Kentucky. We've highlighted some of the teams that could make an upset run. Let's look at a couple of these double-digit seeds here as well. Grand Canyon, under Bryce Drew, once a hero for Valpo, has been in that helm for GCU each of the last 5 years. The Lopes have now made it 4 of the last 5 seasons, including 2 consecutive. They pulled off the opening round upset last year against St. Mary's. We've got that Arkansas team as a double-digit seed as well, and we highlighted Colorado State, who is actually a favorite in their 12-5 matchup, laying 2.5 points against Memphis. Grand Canyon gets Maryland. We've got Drake and Missouri as well. We'll talk some of these big matchups, JY, on the other side of the break. But it's a very compelling West region that has a lot of balance to it, despite that top team being Florida.
I think this could be the topsy-turvy region where you can listen. You go to that bottom half of the draw.
Yeah,
St. John's can make it to the Elite Eight. Arkansas, if they get their act together, can make it to the Elite Eight. Kansas was the number one team in the country. They can make it to the Elite Eight.
Yeah.
We haven't even talked about Texas Tech, what they can do getting the Elite Eight. And then this Missouri team under Coach Gates' first year, you want to talk about turnarounds. How about the turnaround this guy did at Missouri really quick? But they get Drake, but then Grand Canyon, Maryland, Colorado State, Memphis. I mean, buckle up. I feel like this is going to be nail-biter city. A lot of tight games in this region.
When you look at teams around the NCAA tournament, JY, Texas Tech has the best odds of any 3-seed in the Big Dance to cut down the nets in San Antonio as a national champ. 23-1 for Grant McCaslin and his Red Raiders. They have been sensational this year in the Big 12. That's the 7th best price, led by JT Toppin, one of the best players in the Big 12. This Texas Tech team can certainly play. We'll dive even deeper into this portion of the bracket. The opening round games to know, the upsets to be careful of, and, of course, the players to highlight within the West region. Our final region to break down here on this Bracket Central Selection Show. Plenty of picks, previews, and breakdowns still to come. Live right here on SportsGrid on this Sunday night.
The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple of 18.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Portion by portion of the men's NCAA tournament bracket here in 2025, our 86th ever NCAA tournament, the first back in 1939. The field expanding to 64 teams in 1985, 68 teams earlier in the 2010s, back in 2011. So as we preview the West region, JY, those matchups to know in the opening round, the upsets we might see, and of course, a player to highlight as well. Let's start with your West region game to watch. Of the opening round of 64 and the games that we will see, which one intrigues you the most?
It's very simple. It's an 8-9 matchup between Oklahoma and UConn because I'm so intrigued by what this UConn team can be. The problem with UConn is we don't know which UConn team is going to show up. So to me, it's an intriguing match for a UConn team that I feel like if they can impose their will, if Dan Hurley can have them engaged, if Dan Hurley can stay engaged, Dan Hurley's openly talked about, and we've seen it as a coach, he can't ride these kids like he's done in the past. They're a little bit younger. They're green. He's got to be able to work with them and have them play through their ebbs and flows and not get them so nervous. If Dan Hurley can get them composed and play the way they're capable of, they get that win, and I think it could be start of a run.
And it is crazy, right? Because this team entered top 10 in the preseason polls. They entered, of course, hunting down a third consecutive national championship, trying to make history that we have not seen in men's college hoops since the early 1970s, and a team, JY, that has been the most dominant team we have seen in the month of March, possibly ever in the history of this sport. In their last two national championship runs, they have played, of course, 12 games in the Big Dance. They have won all 12 by at least 13 points. An average margin of victory just shy of 22 points per game. They are 12-0 against the number with an average cover margin, outperforming even the expectation by 12.5 points per game. And last year, a positive point differential of plus 140. Wow. It's a very different Connecticut team. But, of course, they have a lot of similar pieces that are trying to replicate the success they have seen the last few years. My region game to watch is that 7-10 matchup. Kansas and Arkansas. Star power brand names in this sport, led by two of the best head coaches that are currently still doing it. Bill Self for Kansas. He has won multiple national championships. And John Calipari, of course, for Arkansas as well. It's a really interesting matchup, JY, to me, because what version of KU are we going to see? The preseason number one team in the country for a second consecutive year, or the team that in the last two regular seasons has frankly been disappointing? What Arkansas team are we going to see? The team that was spurred by Cal's return to Lexington earlier in the regular season in SEC action, or the team that has also faltered on expectation? 5.5-point spread in favor of the Jayhawks. Our total at 146.5 for that opening round of 64 game. What do you think gives?
I don't know, because you don't know what you're getting out of either team. And, this is also I think, Cal may have the back of his mind that Mario Chalmers 3 a long time ago in a national championship game where they kind of blew a national championship where he was at Memphis. So to me, it's an intriguing matchup between these two legendary coaches, teams that have tremendously underachieved.
Yeah.
Teams that went through the portal. When you talk about Zeke Mayo or you talk about A.J. Soar, or you talk about the transfers like even John L. Davis for Arkansas, that has not panned out.
Yeah.
But here's the amazing thing. You just got to get in. Now you're in. Can you put together, like Bennett talked about, just 6 times?
Yeah.
Can you win 6 games in a row? And this Kansas team was a number one team preseason this year for a reason, with Hunter Dickinson, with Dwan Harris, with Abrams, obviously with A.J. Storr, with Zeke Mayo, right? They have the pedigree. But so does Arkansas. And it still sets up such an interesting game because the winner of that game is going to take on St. John's.
Yeah.
It would be one of the wildest scenes, I think, of the second round of the tournament.
It really could be. To have that matchup of Rick Pitino against either Bill Self or John Calipari. Talk about some marquee matchups and some star power, even in the round of 32 in the opening weekend. A West region upset alert. And JY, if you will, I'll go first. Hand up when we put these in. Colorado State was a slight underdog against the champions out of the American in Memphis. It would be an upset from the seed line component because CSU is the 12 seed, 7 seed lines below the 5 seed in the Memphis Tigers. But now Colorado State is a 2.5-point favorite. Really believe in what Nico Medved has done this year for CSU, and they are on an absolute heater. Winner of 8 straight. And, JY, when you look at Colorado State, according to Bart Torvik, who tracks the efficiency ratings year by year, customizable tables, the best team in the last month since the middle of February, one of the best in the Mountain West, one of the best nationally, 8th best in the country. That's Colorado State. So let's get to your true upset in this opening round of 64. What game do you highlight?
Oh, I'm going with the Drake Bulldogs to pull off the upset. When you think about Drake, it's simply put, can they value the ball? This team turns the ball over a lot, 18.6 turnovers per game.
Yeah.
That's a lot, and that's a little worrisome for me against a team with Missouri that wants to get steals, live steals, get out of transition, and run. So if Drake can handle the pressure and handle the ball, you start peeling away offensive effective field goal percentage. They have the advantage. Offensive rebounding percentage. Missouri does not rebound the ball well at all. The fact that free throw attempts or free throw versus field goals attempts, they're number 11. They are a team that I think, Ben, can get it done versus Missouri if they handle the ball.
And I'll go to Drake right away as well. They were a team that I considered a sleeper to get to the second weekend. It is a team that knows what they want to do offensively, led by a head coach in Ben McCollum that had so much success at the D2 level at Northwest Missouri State, winners of 4 national championships. So my player to know in this portion of the bracket is the Missouri Valley Conference Player of the Year, his point guard, who followed him from the Bearcats of Northwest Missouri State to Des Moines. That would be Bennett Sturtz, one of the best players you will find around the country and in the Big Dance. JY, your player to know here in the West region.
Very simple. It's Kadari Richmond. Listen, R.J. Lewis, great year. Etchebor, obviously most improved player. But Kadari is the one that stirs everything. Because of his ability to take care of everything, Kadari Richmond, that's the key I to watch.
We continue to break down the bracket here on our selection show. Next on SportsGrid.
The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Couple 18.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the game starts so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Live Live right here on SportsGrid's Bracket Central Selection Show. He is the coach, J.Y. James Young. I am Ben Stevens. You might be thinking, well, the real madness doesn't actually start, even though we just have a bracket until Thursday afternoon, round of 64 action, right? No. We've got first four games, Tuesday and Wednesday night, of course, in what should always be the home of first four matchups, that Dayton, Ohio. Our first four game, 6:40 p.m. Eastern time on Tuesday evening. A matchup of the automatic qualifiers. First from the SWAC, it is Alabama State. And then from the Northeast Conference, that would be St. Francis, Pennsylvania. 3.5-point spread, JY, in favor of Alabama State in this matchup. Total 141 and a hook. It is going to be great to see the Red Flash mascot, Frankie the Friar, in Dayton, Ohio on Tuesday night.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I can't wait to see Frankie the Friar. I mean, I may have nightmares of him.
You might.
But it's just an intriguing matchup of these teams. And listen, when you start digging in and you see these 16 matchups, you got to try and see where can you find yourself some kind of value, or where you can make the plays. I think you're going to think about a game where you have two teams one team in St. Francis who just throw the ball all over the gym.
Yeah.
I mean, they're 321st in turnover percentage. I've seen that. I've been part of a Mama team that threw the ball over the gym. Believe me, folks, it's not that fun. Versus a team in Alabama State that likes to force turnovers. So to me, that means Alabama State wants to get out and run. But how about the flip side? Alabama State, fifth in the nation in turnover percentage. They don't turn the ball over much versus a St. Francis team that doesn't force turnovers. So when you look at that just metric of those two teams, it favors, obviously, Alabama State. They don't turn the ball over. And they force turnovers.
And it's part of what we'll do all NCAA tournament long. You will get that coaching analysis, why the matchup favors one side. The Hornets are favored, a 3.5-point favorite in that first four game, the first of the first four in Dayton. The champions out of the SWAC onto the big dance for the first time since 2011. St. Francis, PA here for the first time since 1991. The second time in program history. They have been a D1 school for more than 70 years. So back in the dance for just the second time. JY, I used to believe that the automatic qualifiers shouldn't have to play in the first four. They should get the experience. They should get the regalia of getting to the NCAA tournament. I've kind of gone back on my own synopsis there. I think the ability to play in that standalone national window and earn an NCAA tournament victory, which is huge for these programs. The financial incentives that comes with it is also a great opportunity in Dayton. Our other 16 versus 16 matchup on Wednesday night, it's American University, the champions out of the Patriot League, and the Mount back in the big dance for the first time in a while. Mount St. Mary's, the champions of the MAC. They knocked off Iona in that championship game in Boardwalk Hall over the weekend. First year for Donnie Lind, leading the Mount in their program. They are on to the NCAA tournament, JY.
Yes, they are. And they're a team that's pretty good defensively with their effective field goal percentage being at 54. They don't allow teams to rebound the ball, top 100 in rebounding percentage for offensive rebounds. And they don't foul a ton. So to me, you look at that matchup versus the Mount. American looks like to be the team in play here. Of course, Kevin Walsh is probably very happy I said that because Iona didn't make the tournament, but Kevin's not here. But to me, I do like American get the job done versus Mount St. Mary's. Great run by Mount St. Mary's getting to the tournament.
Dwayne Simpkins, a DMV guy. They're in D.C. for the AU Eagles, leading them to the big dance for the first time in more than a decade. Always compelling, JY, when the last four teams into the big dance face off in Dayton. UNC, San Diego State. That's our matchup on Tuesday night. Xavier and Texas on Wednesday. Short numbers. 2.5-point spread in favor of the Musketeers on Wednesday. 3.5-point spread in favor of the Tar Heels on Tuesday night. How do you see both of those first four games?
To me, Carolina is the team that people are talking about right now that maybe shouldn't have gotten in.
Yeah.
So what happens when a team doesn't gets in? They probably win. So to me, I like Carolina to get the job done versus San Diego State. In regards to Xavier versus Texas, I was questioning whether Xavier should have got in.
Yeah.
Texas had a couple of good wins in the SEC tournament, playing a little bit better basketball. Give me the Longhorns and Rodney Terry.
And in fairness to North Carolina, underwhelming in their biggest games of the year. A 1-12 quad one record. But in the other games, pretty solid, especially down the stretch when they had won 6 straight entering the regular season finale against Duke. This Texas team, now healthy. One of their defensive leaders, Kendall Weaver, back. The Longhorns, the underdog, but I think they strike the upset in Dayton. We're going to go piece by piece, region by region around the Big Dance in an interactive way next.
The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple of thoughts.
15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid's Bracket Central Selection Show, and this is how you truly get ready for the big dance and make sense of the madness. This is how you break down a bracket. We do it here, going portion by portion, region by region, around the field of 68. JY, let's start with the number 1 overall seed in the 2025 Men's NCAA Tournament in the South region. It's where the Auburn Tigers reside. The outright regular season champs in the best conference in college basketball this year, that would be the Tigers. But, of course, they enter the fold in the big dance, having dropped 3 of their final 4 games. JY, we've talked a lot about Auburn, their outlook for the NCAA tournament. What is the biggest thing in preparation for the big dance that Bruce Pearl and his Tigers have to fix?
Just confidence. You know, when you're a team that you lose 3 of the last 4 games, I don't care how good you are, you're rattled. And you're rattled, and what you also start to do is you start to panic. So to me, it's a perfect thing is getting that 116 matchup is honestly getting out to a fast start and playing your first 10 minutes really well. If you're Bruce Pearl, you may say to them, hey, listen, every 4-minute window, we want to win by 5 points. I want a 20-point lead at the break. I want us to just start to play better. So to them, and it's harder in the SEC, right? Because you always have to go against another juggernaut.
Yeah.
But for them to go up against, you know, the winner of the St. Francis Jackson State,
Yeah.
Alabama State, I'm sorry, you got to be able to just jump out and play really well at the beginning of the game.
16 quad one victories for the Tigers. It's why they remain the number one overall seed despite the disappointment at the SEC tournament this week in Nashville. And Duke, of course, winning the ACC tournament. It did call into question what we would see for that number one overall spot still goes to Auburn. They await the winner of our first 4 play-in game in Dayton, the first of the first 4, the champions out of the SWAC, and Alabama State, and the champions of the NEC in St. Francis, PA. But JY, as we highlighted, as we looked at this portion of the bracket earlier on in this selection show, despite being the number one overall seed, not the kindest draw for Auburn at the top portion of the South bracket. As you look at these other opening round of 64 games, which matchup intrigues you the most? Which team could cause the most harm for the Tigers?
Well, for the Tigers, it's obviously it could be this Creighton Blue Jays team at the 8-9 matchup. Listen, 8-9 matchups would be really intriguing with Louisville, but it's the play of Ryan Kalkbrenner at the 7-1 center position, because I look at matchups, right? What is Jedi Broom maybe struggle against? Bigger bigs. You saw him at times, maybe sometimes McClifford Moore give him problems. Well, this is the best defensive center in the country in Ryan Kalkbrenner. So that's going to be interesting. When you look at other matchups here, obviously this Texas A&M Yale becomes very intriguing because we look at the Yale Bulldogs and what Coach Jones has done. They've done this before in this spot versus, an SEC team. So they become intriguing, and you talked about it a lot. Michigan, UC San Diego, another matchup. There could be fireworks. This could be 12-13 in the round of 32.
The Maize and Blue great this week in Indianapolis on their way to winning a Big Ten tourney title and not turning the basketball over, but something that Dusty May's team struggled with a ton throughout the year. And UC San Diego, if given the opportunity, would love to take the basketball away. Let's go to the bottom portion of this South region. Michigan State down here, the 2 seed. 27 years in a row for Tom Izzo and the Spartans into the big dance. Bottom portion of the South region, JY, what stands out the most?
To me, it's Iowa State. It's about, can they be healthy? Can they get healthy? Can they get everybody back? If TJ Otzenberger has his crew of all the players, I think you could see them get all the way to the Elite Eight. They have the pedigree. They have the defensive tenacity. But more than anything for an Iowa State team, Ben, they have the ability with their guard play to create havoc, meaning guys that can go get themselves a bucket. If they're healthy, Ben, I fully expect Iowa State to find themselves in the Elite Eight.
We've talked about Taman Lipsey, the health. We've talked about Keyshawn Gilbert, the health. One of the best sixth men in college basketball, Curtis Jones, and Milan Momcilovic, also very solid for this Cyclones team. When you look at the odds, Auburn, the even money favorite to win the South region, that would be represent this portion of the bracket in the Final Four. MSU, second best price as the 2 seed, plus 490. And the Cyclones, the 3 seed, third best number at 5-1. From the South region to the East region, where your national championship favorites entering the men's NCAA tournament reside, that would be the Duke Blue Devils. They are the 1 seed. They await the winner of our second 16 versus 16 first 4 matchup on Wednesday night in Dayton. That would be American University in Mount St. Mary's. But you look at the top portion of the East region, JY, right next to you. How favorable of a path do the Blue Devils have to maybe a Final Four in San Antonio?
Well, if you look at the matchups here, Mississippi State, a team that's overachieved versus a Baylor team that's, let's be honest, have underachieved this year in the Big 12. You go to 5-12, where I think that Liberty can easily pull off an upset versus Oregon, and you can say the same thing for an Akron team versus Arizona, because honestly, we don't know which Caleb Love we're going to get. Good Caleb Love, make a run. Bad Caleb Love, they're out in the first round. Duke really has an extremely favorable schedule to get themselves to the Sweet 16.
Certainly to the Sweet 16, represent the East region in their regional final. Those games at the Rock in Newark, New Jersey. Duke a minus money favorite, minus 125 to win the East region, but maybe a favorable path up top. How difficult is the test from these teams down low here, JY, in the bottom portion of this East region bracket?
Well, there's difficulties in multiple spots. You look at the team at Alabama that has the propensity to score. The question is, can Grant Nelson stay out of foul trouble? He got Big Cliff Amore next to him, which should mitigate and kind of keep him out of foul trouble. But then defensively, what are you going to get out of Alabama? You look at the three seed in Wisconsin. Listen, they played shot the ball as poorly as you could come. Well, you know what that means? That means they should be able to get themselves on a little bit of a roll. This VCU-BYU matchup is intriguing to me because you look at what you have in VCU and their ability to defend. And that's like kind of St. Mary's. A St. Mary's team that plays slow, that can defend, that can get you into a situation. So this possibility, if they get by Vanderbilt, another team that's exceeded expectations, if they can get that 7 matchup versus Alabama, this St. Mary's team is a type of team that could give Alabama fits.
Augustus Marlachonis, the West Coast Conference Player of the Year, and of course the veteran guidance that is Randy Bennett. East region. Now let's make sure we hit on the West region as well. We're a team that is streaking into the NCAA tournament on the top line in this portion of the bracket. That would be the Florida Gators. A victory today in Nashville to claim that SEC tournament title. You look at this West region, JY, how do you see the matchups here in this portion of the bracket?
It's very simple. What do we get out of UConn? What do we get out of UConn? Because I think those are the only two teams for UConn and Florida that can get all the way through here. That's the problem. Bottom side, it could be a little bit interesting. It's all about star power. When you look at the bottom half, and it's Patino, and it's Self, and it's Calipari. But don't sleep on the Drake Bulldogs here at the number 11 seed. They have a chance to pick off Missouri.
Florida, like Duke in the East region, a minus money favorite to win the West region and represent this portion of the bracket in the Final Four in San Antonio. St. John's, despite being the 2 seed, third best number for Rick Pitino and the Red Storm at plus 650. Our final portion of the bracket, let's head out to the Midwest region. Houston is the top team on this side of the field of 68. Kelvin Sampson and his Cougs, JY, dominant once again in the Big 12. What's their outlook like in the Midwest region?
Well, I think they can find their way through. I think, obviously, the way they play, their top half, it'll be a little bit interesting when they get to the second-round matchup versus possibly Gonzaga, but I think they have a good side, but then this could be crazy. McNeese, High Point, right? Utah State. This could be the upset part of the schedule.
Purdue is the 4 seed and last year's national runner-up that still has the Big Ten Player of the Year in Braden Smith. But the Huss Bus and High Point, they can score with the best of them. We highlighted McNeese as the upset potential in the 12-5 spot over Clemson. Quickly, JY, bottom portion of this bracket. Tennessee, the 2 seed, trying to change the narrative around Rick Barnes, maybe reach a Final Four.
This could be the best opportunity for Rick Barnes to get there to a Final Four. But this team here, Houston, with their offense, going to be tough to beat.
Houston offensively this year, a little bit more efficient than we had seen in years past. Let's talk about some of those best players in the big dance on the biggest stage of the year next.
The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that rim. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of
15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The 2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Bracket Central Selection Show live right here on this Sunday on SportsGrid. I am Ben Stevens. The coach, JY James Young, is here as well. It's not just matchups. It's not just teams. It's not just programs that have now made it to the big dance. It's the biggest stars in this sport on the biggest stage they will see in college basketball. And, of course, JY, late last week in the ACC tournament in Charlotte, we got a scare. That may be one of the best players in this sport, the number one overall pick this upcoming summer, and still the odds-on favorite to win the Wooden Award. Cooper Flagg might not be able to play. A scary left ankle injury. He was helped off the floor. He was wheeled to the X-ray room. Those were negative. He did not play for the Blue Devils in their semifinal matchup against North Carolina, nor the tournament title victory over Louisville, but he is expected to be fully ready, healthy for the round of 64 for Duke.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's why, we don't see a lot of markets right now, because I think they don't know what's his availability.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, if Cooper Flagg is playing and he is 100%, he's the favorite. Why? Because he leads his team in points, rebounds, assists, steals, and block shots, and is your top defender and at the point of attack offensively and defensively, and protects the rim. So for them, we have to see who's going to be healthy, right? Yeah. Is he going to be at availability? So obviously, when you start tying into most outstanding player, you got to start thinking about like how it lines up in regards to the player versus the odds to win a national championship.
And it's a big point as well, JY. MOP often is for the Final Four. There is a designation. It's not just everything in the NCAA tournament, but of course you have to play well in the big dance to get your team to San Antonio. 20 days from now and 22 days from this exact moment, a national champion will be well on their way to being crowned. The other guy in what an award consideration is the best player for the best team in this tournament, at least based on the seed list. That would be the number one overall seed in the men's NCAA tournament, Auburn, and that player would be Johni Broome. What does he do so well for Bruce Pearl's team?
Everything. I mean, we talked about blocks, points, rebounds, assists, blocks, and steals for Cooper Flagg. Yeah. How about points, rebounds, assists for Johni Broome as their power forward? And I think what I saw to Johni particularly is his big shot ability. You saw the game against Alabama where he hit a big three from the right wing to force overtime, and then down three-quarter pocket three to tie the game late in overtime. So to me, Johni Broome is someone that's got another person that fills the stat sheet. And here's the thing, and that's where you think about it. Very rarely do you get to a Final Four and it's like some nondescript guy that kind of just goes off. It's got to be the guy. It's got to be Johni Broome. It's got to be Cooper Flagg. Where it gets interesting is if Houston wins it. Because then you're looking at, Uzan, you're looking at Cryer, you're looking at Mason, you're looking at three guys. Yeah. So that means if you can pick the right guy, if it's Houston, there could be value there.
It really is a good point, JY, because Emmanuel Sharp will be key for this Kelvin Sampson team, LJ Cryer as well. They grind you out defensively, but this year the offense, 11th most efficient in all of college basketball. As we shared earlier in the show, this is a tournament field, especially on the one line, that might feature some of the most talented teams we have seen in the Ken Pom era, at least in the last 2 decades. We have 4 teams right now, pre-NCAA tournament, with a Ken Pom net rating of plus 35 or better. All 4 teams that make up our 1 seeds: Duke, Florida, Houston, Auburn, in that order. It is the most we have ever seen enter a big dance. Best player for Duke, Cooper Flagg. Although some of the other guys did get some great experience this week, leading Duke to that ACC tournament title. Con Knippel, one of the best shooters in the ACC. Sion James, the veteran guard. Tyrese Proctor, the veteran guard. Mason Gillis, a glue guy. I would almost argue, because Cooper Flagg will be back, The absence of Malik Brown, whose status is very uncertain, could be very costly. But Kamen Malawach, one of the best bigs in the ACC, also one of those outstanding freshmen, will be a key to anchor that Duke defense. We talked about Houston. We talked about Auburn. Plenty of talent for the Tigers. Chad Baker-Mazara, the veteran. Miles Kelly, the transfer. A lot to like for this Tigers team. JY, we haven't hit on Florida. Who is the Gators' best player entering the NCAA tourney?
You don't know. And that's what makes them intriguing, because it's the depth of it. You know, obviously Walter Clayton Jr., both sides of the ball have been absolutely fantastic. How about Elijah Martin, the transfer from Florida Atlantic, what he's been able to do?
As a part of that Final Four team under Dusty May.
Right, so he's got the experience here. You look at Richard. You look at Condon inside, 11.2, 7.9. You know, if you get into a match where he gets into a Final Four or a national championship game and he's going against Janai Broom and he outplays him, well, now Condon can make his case. So they become even more than Duke, even more than, you know, obviously Auburn and Houston. They're the team where it's going to be the hardest to predict who is the most outstanding player if they win, because they have so many guys that can beat you.
As we said, UF, one of the best cover teams in college basketball as well, 26-8 against the spread this year. One small slip-up on the road in Athens, night in, night out on SEC play, sometimes it is going to happen. Outside of that, Florida enters the big dance, winning 12 of their last 13 games, a cover in all 12 victories as well. A guy we were trying to highlight earlier, so much information we are trying to share throughout this Bracket Central selection show, is St. John's leader, not the Big East Player of the Year, that's R.J. Lewis Jr., but the guy that really stirs the drink for Rick Pitino and the Red Storm, the Seton Hall and Syracuse transfer, Kadari Richmond. What is so important about the point guard's play for the Johnnies, JY, if they are to make a deep run here in the big dance?
Because of the effect of what Kadari does is he impacts the game kind of like a Cooper Flag all over the place. Whether it's scoring, whether it's rebounding, whether it's this. How about this guy having top 25 triple-doubles for two different programs against two different teams?
Yeah.
So to me, Kadari Richmond is, ready, the most impactful and important player for St. John's. And if they make a run towards a national championship, as good as R.J. Lewis is, as good as Etchafor is, it's going to be Kadari Richmond if they make a run.
There are so many great players all throughout the field of 68 at each and every level, at each and every seed line around the men's NCAA tournament. And so as we round out our Bracket Central selection show on the other side of the break, of course, we've got to get you set for some best bets in the round of 64, Thursday and Friday. Who is cutting down the nets in just over 3 weeks? That's next on SportsGrid.
The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple of 15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
On SportsGrid's Bracket Central Selection Show. He is the coach, James Young, JY. I am Ben Stevens. And just so you know, it doesn't just stop on Selection Sunday. It is only the beginning of this wonderful 3-week run that ends in 22 days from now in San Antonio, where a national champion will be crowned. And we'll talk about those title picks here to end out this show as well. But myself and JY will be with you basically each and every night through every single round, starting on Thursday in the round of 64. Live Bracket Central coverage for our opening round matchups, noon Eastern time, right here on SportsGrid. Really wall-to-wall coverage of all the great names and all the great faces you will see here on the Spiz Grizz Network. Let's start in the round of 64, JY, with a best bet. So many matchups to choose from. Which game do you highlight?
Oh, I'm going right here. McNeese State plus the 7.5 points. Listen, last year they were the sexy pick. Everyone wanted them, and they flamed out. So now a lot of people are talking about them. So what does that mean? I'm jumping back on them. Plus 7.5 points. I wouldn't be shocked if they won it outright. Remember, the ACC, not an overly strong league. Will Wade, maybe his last year, maybe getting a power job. They get it. Plus 7.5 points. Sprinkle on the money line.
The Cowboys are a very stout team. Christian Shoemate, one of their leaders, will anchor that defensive side, JY, that is going to have to be good if McNeese is going to pull off the opening round upset. It will be a 12-5 game, many highlight. Let's get some points in the opening round of 64. A game we will be live for on Friday afternoon. Last year's national runner-up in Purdue, taking on a really talented High Point team, the champions of the Big South. The real knock against both of these teams, JY, Purdue, outside of the top 60 in adjusted defensive efficiency. High Point, 227 out of 364 nationally in adjusted defensive efficiency, is that defensive side of the floor. Neither play overly quick, but when you're scoring at an efficient rate, that is great. And not oftentimes do you see a team like the Panthers, the champions out of the Big South, a mid-major level program, be top 25 in any metric. They're the 25th most efficient offense in the country. Let's get some points early and often on Friday. Over 154.5 between the Boilermakers and the Panthers. All right, JY, without further ado, a national championship pick here on our Bracket Central Selection Show. 22 days from now, on a Monday evening in San Antonio, Texas, who is cutting down the nets as a national champ?
You know, when you look at this tournament, wide open field, to me, you look at a team that could defend at a high level, a team that has great coaching, great guard play, and a guy that has not won a national championship as of yet. Houston Cougars, Kelvin Sampson with the guard play, with Cryer, obviously with Emmanuel Sharp, with Uzan. We got to get Juwan Roberts back, Francis. And I like this price at 7-1 as teams like Florida has jumped up over Houston. That's going to give me a little bit more value. Emmanuel Sharp may be the most outstanding player of the tournament. Give me the Houston Cougars at 7-1 to cut down the nets.
The Cougs on that top line, the 1 seed in the Midwest region. But JY, of our 1 seeds, the longest price to win a national championship at 7-1. This is a veteran-laden team for a Houston team that has at least reached the second weekend of the NCAA tournament. 5 consecutive big dances. I love the look. And when we think of a tournament defined by its madness, known for its chaos, you might see some Cinderella runs. In fact, we have seen a team 5-seeded or lower make the Final Fours in every NCAA tournament since 2013. You're going to have your opening round upsets in the round of 64 and, of course, that opening weekend. But for a tournament known for its madness, it is also known for the cream rising to the top. 4 of the last 5 national champs have been on the one line. 13 of the last 17, 25 of the 39 since the tournament field expanded to 64 schools back in 1985. So look at the one line. And for me, look at the 1 seed out of the West region. That is Florida. The Gators, second best price to win a national championship as of right now. A feared team with the dominance they showed in Nashville in the SEC tournament, on their way to a tourney title this week in the gauntlet that was this conference all year long. JY, I'll repeat one final time. 5 teams qualify for this. In the top 12 of the Week 6 AP, top 25, top 25 adjusted offensive efficiency, top 25 defensive efficiency as well. It is Duke, Auburn, Florida, Tennessee, and Iowa State. All back the Gators. The madness is just about to begin. He's the coach, JY James Young. I am Ben Stevens. Thank you for joining us on this Sunday night on Bracket Central Selection Show.